Donald Trump's police state parade. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe. Today I'm going to talk briefly about a couple of things. First thing, while cutting money from starving children, Donald Trump is planning a parade around his birthday in June that is going to cost the American taxpayer millions and millions of dollars. I don't mean just children in the U.S. aid programs who are starving in malnourished and famine-ridden countries around the world, but also American children when he goes after education cuts. He's going after meal programs in the Department of Education that provides children with meals. He's cutting funding indiscriminately from everywhere from Veterans Affairs to museums to libraries, education, research, hundreds of thousands of layoffs, all in the name of efficiency. But he wants to have his parade of thousands and thousands of military people parading down Pennsylvania Avenue, hundreds of vehicles, dozens of helicopters in DC, in a really crowded airspace. He wants that for his birthday. Because, Donald Trump, in my mind, he's a simpleton genius. In a genius way, he can manipulate the very basic notions of hierarchy that we in this democratic world still sort of espouse. This rich social class, rich and powerful, is an established class. And very seldom do you see people make a breakthrough in that class. And, now we are seeing richer and richer people and poorer people. We're seeing more and more rich people, but much, much more poor people. And it gives you an idea of how Donald Trump sees the world. It's a hierarchy. He's a simpleton with ideations of grandeur befitting a despot and king. The ideas that he has is very patriarchal, very old-fashioned, very despotic. He does see everything in a very feudal way. And if you look at that, he believes in the hierarchies, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has in his mind and this belief that the only court that can tell him what to do is the Supreme Court of the United States. And that's why I keep saying over and over and over again that the Supreme Court is the one who needs to issue direct orders both on the Alien Enemies Act and on bringing back the people who were illegally removed under the Alien Enemies Act, as well as who are being illegally removed American citizens under the act, and detaining them all across Texas and now going to find different jurisdictions because one jurisdiction in the Southern District of Texas already said that this detention is wrong. It's the wrong application of the Alien Enemies Act. Will Donald Trump listen to that? No, he's going to appeal, and then SCOTUS has to affirm that in order for Donald Trump to listen. And it has to be more than sort of a 5-4 decision which he can cast doubt on. But its 5-4 decision is still law. I want you to know that. But I digress. He wants to spend American taxpayer money on his birthday parade while his Doji quasi-program of data mining for Elon Musk is indiscriminately presenting cuts to different agencies of the government, all the way from research and development to education to housing and development to health and human services, CDC, whatever you can think of. That's how despots assume control. And why did I say police state parade? Because I have been harping about this police state executive orders that came out on the 28th of April of last month, and no one seems to be very interested in talking about it. Those executive orders are designed to build a police state and overreach into state domain, into local authorities, and to also indemnify and immunize police officers who go and perform illegal searches on behalf of the federal government, local and state officers. There's indemnification through pro bono services that he is getting from these cowering law firms that have now committed millions of dollars of pro bono service hours. He's going after the funding of sanctuary cities or sanctuary jurisdictions that are getting in the way of Donald Trump's illegal removals without due process. They are safeguarding the Constitution. The states and the municipalities and the cities, they are. These jurisdictions are getting in the way because these people are due process rights. And that is why Donald Trump is going after them. And this show of force in June, in the middle of the assessment period of how Donald Trump's national security assets will, support state and local or command and commandeer state and local authorities to go after whom they perceive to be enemies and criminal aliens. Mind you, there's no specific description of what an alien, criminal, alien or enemy would be, except for stating that in the executive order and giving the AG and Department of Defense plenary authority, broad discretion to come up with plans. And so this ties into this military parade ties into Donald's establishment of a police state, because we're going to be seeing a lot more of those military if Donald Trump gets his way. If Donald Trump gets that 13% up in defense and national security budget that he is going to spend in trying to federalize the police force of the entire country. That's why it's important to talk about it. That's why it's connected to this parade that he's having. That's why we should keep warning people. Second thing I wanted to briefly talk about is Marco Rubio. If you'll notice that Marco Rubio is now the Secretary of State appointed by the Senate, the acting U.S. aid agency head, the acting national security advisor, and the acting archivist of the United States. So what does that say about what Donald Trump is saying and what Marco Rubio is doing? Somewhere Donald Trump sees Marco Rubio as the compliant and capable officer that he has. Compliant, capable, and somebody who would not raise too many questions. Donald Trump is aware of this by way of how Marco Rubio has performed and the things that he has said in both defending what he will and will not say about certain matters, or not saying anything at a time of high tension like that meeting with Zelensky. It kind of showed Donald Trump, yes, I know my place. And yes, I can defend you. And so he's accumulating and consolidating power, in my mind, because Donald Trump sees him as sort of a safe haven to hang an acting hat on, a compliant person who is also competent. Because he sees that there are many people around him who are not just, they are loyalists, yeah, but they're incompetent loyalists. And he needs competent loyalists. And Marco Rubio currently serves that role. Marco Rubio can now power out other appointees and establish his own sphere of influence around Donald Trump. Will he do it? Time will tell. Will that moderate Donald Trump? Time will tell. But, you have DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, and you have Pete Hegseth, and you have Pam Bondi, and you have Tulsi Gabbard, and you have Kash Patel, and you have Bobby Jr. They are causing enough chaos and enough incompetence that Donald Trump is seeing that it's becoming more difficult for him to get his agenda forward, which is for him to get more power into his hands and consolidate that power and control his environment. These people are doing things that some of them, like Pete Hegseth, and even like Howard Lutnick or Scott Bessent, they are low. They are not as stable politically because of the lack of experience as Marco Rubio. And one significant absence there is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a sycophant. And I think that Donald Trump realizes that J.D. Vance is a sycophant. And because of that, he is not giving certain responsibilities to the vice president. He's not delegating authority to the vice president. And I don't know whether he can or not, but he could have said the vice president is going to look at U.S. aid from now on. He could have said that. There's nothing stopping that. I don't think there's any law stopping the vice president from conducting the affairs of state for a period of time if he needed to. So I'd like to keep my eyes on Marco Rubio. And I'd like to end my episode here. And thank you very much for taking the time to listen to me. Do leave your comments and let me know what you think about how I am assessing what is happening. Because it is important that I make sense to you. Because I make sense in my head. And I don't want to come out and provide information that would make things more confusing to you. So if you have questions, if you have comments, please leave them in the comment boxes and I will get back to you. And please take care of yourselves, stay safe, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you soon.